very important for us is that our endoscope reprocessors are fastest in the market, and it's the only one that monitors everything that's going on with that endoscope in the process. And we also have a drying and storage cabinets. Once the endoscope's clean, you want to store them in a sterile environment. Again, we're the only company in North America that's marketing a drying cabinet. We've got proprietary chemistries and processes that are incorporated into the units. And we've got our CE marking for Europe and many countries overseas. We're Health Canada cleared, and part of the reason for raising our funding right now is to get our FDA approval in the United States. We've been selling equipment since 2012. We sold into hospitals in Canada, US, Europe, and other countries overseas. We've definitely got global exposure. Our next step is to get into the many markets that we haven't touched yet. Our go-to-market strategy, it's dependent on the country that we're working in. We'll either go direct, for example, we're going direct to the United States. In Canada and Europe, we're going through distributors. And we've got representatives in other countries such as Brazil and the Middle East. Our pipeline for sales this year is probability adjusted as $5.9 million. We've sold to some very high-profile hospitals in the US, in the United Kingdom, and also in the Middle East, one of them being the Cleveland Clinic, which I think a lot of people will be aware of. We're also in discussions with Kaiser Permanente, which is one of the biggest healthcare providers in the US, and they're waiting for our FDA approval. They've seen our equipment and would like to carry it. Competition, we have regional competition. In the United States, we have big United States-based companies that we compete with, and in Europe, we have regional players. We're well positioned to compete against this company. There hasn't been a lot of new technologies that have been brought to market in the last 10 years, and our product offering is the only one that meets the new ISO 15883 standard for reprocessing endoscopes. So we are alone in that we're the only company that can sell our product in every market, pending getting regulatory approval in a particular market. We've got a team. We've got a company of individuals that have been able to design, manufacture, commercialize and market our equipment and sell it in various places throughout the world, and we're well-rounded in that respect. What we do need our funds for, we're looking for $2 million. We want to use it to augment our team. We'd like to add sales and marketing expertise, and we'd like to be able to develop an advisory board, particularly as we go into other countries and other parts of the world. You want people that can help you out. Financially, we can sell our equipment either on a capital cost, straight sale to a hospital, or on a per-use basis. And we've done it in both ways in the marketplace. And you can see in our sales, we've generally been getting sales traction over the last 3 years. We crested over $1 million in 2014, and we'll get to $5 million in 2015. We've got $1.6 million in ordered books, and we're looking at 2016, the big spike in our sales to be entry into the US market. And also, as we move forward into future years, we'll start going after the overseas markets. So we're looking for the $2 million. It's to address an opportunity in a high-growth market. We have an innovative and proprietary technology offering. We've got a compelling value proposition for our customers. We've been selling equipment into hospitals in 2012. We're validated. We're seeking capital to fuel our sales growth. And we're working in an industry that's seen some very compelling and attractive exit multiples in the last few years. Thank you.
So you can keep the podium. I'll manage the questions from here. I'll perhaps start with you this time, Andrew, with the first question if you're ready.
I had a couple. In my glasses, I could actually read what I wrote. You said you were going direct in the U.S., but you're using distributors elsewhere?
That's correct.
Why is that?
It depends on how the hospitals are sold in each market. We initially went with an approach where we thought we would go through distributors, particularly in the United States, because it's such a big market. But we found that the market is actually fairly consolidated. There's a lot of buying groups, for example, in the United States. And by going and addressing them, when you think about 12,500 hospitals, reprocessing equipment's turned over every 5 to 10 years, depending on how quickly the hospital wants to turn it over. So if it was every 10 years, that's only 1,250 calls that you would need to make in a year, it's actually fairly manageable. Kaiser Permanente is an example. They're all over the United States, and if we get into their hospital system, they'll take a fair share of that. Markets like the UK and Canada, you have to go through a distributor. That's the practice.
It's on.
Thank you so much for the presentation. You mentioned some competitors in your presentation, but I wasn't so satisfied in terms of what your value add was. Like you said, your technology, but in the coming years, when the rest of the competition actually comes to your level, basically the level of technology that you have, will your team be able to satisfy or keep the momentum going in terms of the innovation?
We will. We have a couple of things that we're working on. One of the simplest is we have some technologies that we haven't introduced yet into the reprocessing market. We're actually still way ahead of the curve, and a lot of the competitors just aren't addressing the requirements of the new standards. So we're starting a stealth. We haven't gotten a lot of profile, as you can see from our sales. But as we go out and talk to particularly key opinion leaders in the medical reprocessing space, they're telling us, you guys are ahead of the curve, but you're where you need to be. So I think we'll enjoy that over the next 3 or 4 years. And then we have some new technologies that we're going to bring, which are going to address the ability actually to have that reprocessing taken out of the hospitals. For example, a lot of hospitals are outsourcing things like their food services and linen supplies. Truck shows up at the end of the day, picks their stuff up, takes it somewhere overnight and brings it back the next day. The same thing could happen with endoscopes, but the only problem right now is there's no technology for transporting these and making sure they're staying safe through the process. We have technology that we're going to bring to market that'll address that.
Okay, thank you.
So this is an interesting product, and we're familiar with the product as well, and it goes just beyond Canada. This is a massive market, a global market, so the scalability is there. A couple of questions. You said that you were talking to Kaiser Permanente. Are they going to be able to?
I'm sorry?
You said that you were discussing sales with Kaiser Permanente. Are they going to pay for this installation? That's my first question. The second question is on the pricing. Is it a one-time sale? Is there any follow-on? Is there any special type of treatment sales that you can actually negotiate with the hospitals, clinics, etc.?
If you put our suite into a hospital, that would be reprocessing 30 scopes a day, you'd spend about $250,000. You'd have 2 cleaning stations, one big reprocessor, and the drying and storage cabinets. The hospitals pay back on those. We have actually calculators that we provide to our distributors, and we use as sales tools. We can show that the equipment will save them the time it takes to reprocess. So that's validated. I was to George Washington University Hospital in Washington a little while ago, and they said, you know what, we get it. You absolutely do have the ability to lower the costs once you get the standards in place. The hospitals that are fiscally challenged, what we've done when we've gone out and sold them is we've said, look, you can put it in and just send us, right now it costs $30 to reprocess an endoscope. Send us $25. We know it only costs $15 using our equipment. So either ourselves or our distributors are actually more motivated to put the equipment in. Because of the chemistries, the service, and the other things that are tied to the equipment, for every piece of capital equipment you put in, there's a 4 times multiple that's associated with the accessories, the sales, the proprietary chemistries I talked about. What we find is when you get a hospital that's got a fairly astute group, when you start to pitch them on the 2 systems, they usually go back. For example, we had a large hospital in Toronto that was going through the process of doing it on a pay-per-use basis. They came back to us and said, you know what? We figured it out. We're going to buy the equipment. We'll still sell them the chemistries and the other accessories and still make money on it. But for the hospital and for the distributor, it's who gets that extra margin.
Well, no, thank you for the presentation. I think that it's interesting. Sorry. There we go. Now, is this a single product company, or are you actually looking at other technologies that, or other things that you could apply the technology to?
We've really found our niche in the reprocessing space, so we would be continuing to explore other equipment and other medical devices that can be reprocessed. We've made a lot of contacts. We've built a fairly good network of advisors, experts. So we do have some other areas we'd like to look at. We're honestly focused more on really capitalizing on the endoscopy space because it has been fairly well ignored by the current players. And because we have some technologies we can bring to enhance our market offering, we will continue to focus more on the endoscopy over the next 3 or 4 years, but we have our eye open all the time for new technologies, and we do get companies that will come to us either through financial networks or whatever that'll come and say, geez, maybe you could do something with ours. Actually, the equipment we developed, the cleaning station, and the reprocessor, are equipment that other small companies had come up with some conceptual designs but just didn't know how to get them to the market. So we actually took those technologies to the next step. That's what we do best.
So again, thanks for the presentation. A couple questions. First is just on the sales strategy. So typically when you're going through, even if it's direct or through a distributor, what's the cycle time in closing an account?
Well, we started selling equipment in 2012. We started developing our endoscopy line in 2011. We're just at the stage where we're starting to enjoy the sales cycle. The sales that we've sold to date aren't reflective of the market presence we've got. It's just the sales cycle in the medical space. So one of the barriers to entry to this market is it takes a long time. It takes about 4 years to develop the product, and it takes a good 3 years to bring it to market, to get market awareness, regulatory approval. It's a risk-adverse industry, so you really got to get people on side to take that risk with you. You got to get some early adopters. Sales cycle in Canada is anywhere from 18 to 24 months. The US will be about 6 months faster than that. We found Europe to be the same. We're actually looking at the developing markets like Brazil, China, India, primarily in their private hospital systems to be actually countries that'll adopt faster. So we're seeing it's all over the map, but that's a negative about our business model, is it's a slow to market sale.
Sure.
Partly the mics and partly there's a lot of background noise here.
So convince us that your sales guy in the US is really, really good.
Well, right now I've been him in a lot of the early sales processes and going out and actually marketing. That's a big part of what I do. I also have a very strong sales guy, Stephen Sewell, who was in the presentation. If you saw him in action, we can convince the hospital buyers and the groups that we have the technology to solve their problem. We're not having that issue at all. We go into, here's an example. I went to Brazil through the Ontario Ministry of Economic Development in 2013 and went into the private hospitals there. I had 30 minutes tops in each of these 3 hospitals I went and visited. I was in every one of them for 3 years, or for over 3 hours. We can sell our products, and because it's a niche market, we don't need a lot of salespeople. If you saw Steve in action, he's more technical than I am. He can certainly get the clinical staff to understand the proposition. What I tend to do is deliver more of the commercial and business proposition to the customers. But we have what it takes right now to get there. You're welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Rob. So up next, we have Marc Lamar pitching his company, Cumulus Dental. So feel free to use your strap disc. Okay, great. There's your clicker.
Thank you. Okay. So I guess I'm mic'd now. That's good. So we're going from one end of the alimentary canal to the other, so just bear with me. I'm Dr. Marc Lamar. I was a practicing dentist for over 28 years, and now I am the CEO and co-founder of Cumulus Dental. Cumulus Dental is an investment-ready company that basically, sorry, this isn't working. Okay. That wants to break into this market, and we want investors to join us too. There are 350 million dental checkups in North America alone. Now, we're not talking revenues of pennies per checkup, we're talking dollars per checkup. And our vision is to go global with our company because we firmly believe that wherever there are teeth and gums, we need to be there. So how are we going to do this? Well, the problems in dentistry are such that 85% of all dental offices still use paper charts like the ones you see. The one on the left is for the teeth and the tooth condition. The one on the right is for the gums. The way we measure the gums is with an instrument called a periodontal probe. Now, this probe was invented in the 1800s, and the last innovation on the probe was in 1925 when they added lines to it. But unfortunately, these probes tell you nothing of the physiology, what's really going on in the gums. Your typical dental appointment requires 2 operators, very time consuming, and when you show the chart to the patient, they don't understand it either. So our solution is to introduce to the dental marketplace a digital periodontal probe and a 3D charting software. Now, our probe has disposable tips. It'll accurately measure the depth in the periodontal pockets, but will also measure the temperature, which is an indicator of inflammation. Down the road, we're going to add more physiological parameters, which will make this the most incredible periodontal tool available on the market. All of this photonic information is transmitted through our system. It will create a 3D rendering of the patient's mouth with bone levels, inflammation in the gums. So imagine the dentist is showing you a rendering of your mouth, decides, I'm going to show you the bone levels, we'll peel away the gums, let's remove the bone and look at the actual roots. All of this gets uploaded into the cloud, and our probe system can only use our software. So our software is a 3D, fully interactive graphical software. It's voice activated. You just need to talk to it. You don't need a second operator anymore. And whatever the teeth condition is, you describe it. Whatever the gums are, you describe it. It appears on it. Again, uploaded into the cloud, and it exists with existing dental, it integrates with existing dental office management systems. So this is a standalone solution, aside from the probe. That's why we're going to launch it this year. There are existing competitors out there. The one on the top left is the Florida Probe, our main competitor, and on the right is a typical 2-dimensional charting system that's available on computers. Some are voice activated like ours, but unfortunately they only do the periodontal measurements, the gum measurements. They don't do the fillings, bridges, root canals, implants. So when you look at our probe, it looks, feels, acts like a probe, and the physiology is the innovation. Our charting software, 3D, fully interactive, which the patients will easily recognize. So this becomes a game changer in dentistry for diagnostics, treatment, and monitoring of gingival conditions. Our business model, we're a recurring revenue company. We actually have 3 revenue streams. The first one, a monthly subscription of the software, competitively priced. The second one, the most important one, is our probe tips are disposable. These will be about the same price as a dental burr. You just use it and throw it out. We've estimated that one hygienist should use about 1,000 probes per year. The third one is the little black box I showed you earlier. It's like a cable box. It's a monthly subscription as well. So the dentist has no upfront costs on our system. Our go-to-market is fairly straightforward. Dental supply companies, right? We're currently talking to Henry Schein Corporation, which is the biggest dental supply company in the world. They're interested in our software and our probe. We will attend dental conventions. Like in 2 weeks, the ODA is here, the Ontario Dental Association. So we attend dental conventions. That's where dentists and hygienists make decisions about products. They try them out. We'll have online demos for the voice system, and they can go online to look at our products. We have already appeared in some dental publications as an innovative company in dentistry, and we can also advertise. The last one is the fact that we will introduce our software to every dental and hygiene school in North America for free. So we'll have a strong web presence where dentists can sign up to our subscription, order supplies. We've already recruited some champions in the dental industry, and we're going to get more, and we're recruiting more. And the fact that we now know that gum disease is linked to systemic problems such as heart disease, low birth weight babies, premature birth, that type of stuff, makes for great possible interviews on TV. And then the patients see that and they go tell their dentist, I just saw Dr. Lamar on TV and I want his product, right? When you look at our projections, it becomes obvious that the probe is the main driver of our revenues. So I'll put this in graphical form. And the assumption model we have is for only 100 adoptions per month on this model. And we're looking at possible margins of about 50%. Now, our team is very varied. So on our management team, we've got people in dentistry, medical devices, physics and photonics, project management, user interface design. Our development team has 3D animation and programmers, quality management systems, quality assurance, and voice recognition software experts. Our board of directors is very active in our company, and they bring years of business and legal information to our company. We're currently developing our sales and marketing team, and I now have 6 outside advisors on my advisory team. So, our milestones, I already said, we're launching the software this year, which will get us into revenues in 2015. We're currently developing the probe device, which will measure depth and temperature as a prototype, and we'll probably get into beta testing by the end of this year to launch it next year. So far, we spent about $800,000 on development, and a lot of that has been through convertible debt and public funding, like companies like OCE. Thank you very much. So the real question is, why would dentists and hygienists adopt our system? One, it will save time, a substantial amount of time. It will increase practice revenues. One, they won't need the second operator. If they're saving time, they're seeing more patients. Also, if patients recognize their mouth and their chart, they'll be more open to further treatment. But the most important one is they will diagnose and treat more periodontal problems on a daily, monthly, weekly basis. We've estimated that one hygienist using our system can increase revenues by up to $100,000 per year per practice. That's substantial in dentistry. The last one is patients themselves. They will have better oral health outcomes, and they'll have better systemic health outcomes as well. So, why would you invest in our company? Well, dentistry is a lucrative market and ripe for innovation. Dentists are known to be high adopters of technology. We're a recurring revenue company, and we're going to generate revenues this year. This is a Class 2, the probe is a Class 2 medical device with easy paths to approval through FDA. We own the IP on all of this technology. Our team delivers, and we're looking at different exit strategies. One is probably an acquisition by a medical devices company, and we're still open to the idea of an IPO. As we expand the capabilities of our probe, we're going to start breaking into medical and veterinary medicine applications as well. So we're not a one-trick pony here. And all of this makes us an exceptionally high potential growth company. Our ask is $1.1 million. We're going to use these funds to expand our team, finish testing our software, market it and launch it, train and recruit a sales force, and develop the first working prototype of our probe. The last major innovation in dentistry is this company, Invisalign. You've heard of those clear braces. Within 5 years, this company was worth $1 billion. As of this morning, I checked, it's worth almost $5 billion. We're going to write a similar success story in dentistry as well. So, before I end my presentation, let you ask me questions. I've got some questions for you. Will your dentist want to adopt our technology? Or even better, you've seen what we can do. Will you want your dentist to adopt our technology? Thank you.
So, Asley, you can go first this time.
Actually, I didn't see anything about, are you the only one that does this or will be doing this? Do you have
Physiology or the software?
software?
The software, yes, we are.
So
yeah.
no competition.
I can't say no. Some are doing pseudo 3D. The main barrier to succeeding in 3D, because our fillings are fully integrated, they're full 3D in every tooth, right? And if you do the mathematics of it, one front tooth has got 18 possible positions of fillings, and if you do every combination and permutation of that one tooth, it's 6 quintillion renderings that you would have to create in a database for one tooth, for one filling material. It becomes astronomical. We solve that problem on our own. So we're patenting that. You know, that's going to be a patent for our software. Some companies have tried. I was talking to the president of Dentrix, which is the biggest dental office management software from Henry Schein, and we talked about that, and I said, you hit the mathematical problem. He said, yeah, we did. I said, well, we solved it, so they're interested, right?
What was on?
You said that you're developing IP for it.
No, our software right now has got a provisional patent application. Our probe designs are about to be submitted.
Okay. And distribution.
The distribution through dental supply companies, but they can also order us online. They can go online and order our probes, of course, in subscription and the like.
Mrs. How much does it cost for the dental? How much does it cost for the dentist office?
Oh, you mean
the probe?
The probe?
Yeah.
The probe tip that is disposable, probably 25 cents. Okay, it's interesting technology. I can't get into it, but it's interesting technology. It works very, very well, and it has a recycle time, because the question they asked me on technology, well, if you go from one pocket to the next, how does it recycle back to normal? It's 10 milliseconds. Hi, Yuri.
I guess my question would be, you're obviously still in a pre-beta stage. My question to you is really about what have you done so far, and I'd like to get some insights on this, to test your product market fit. In other words, what have you done to make sure that your customers will pay for your product, what you think they're going to pay, and will actually buy it?
Yeah, we've done several surveys. Actually, one of the grants we got from OCE was to do a market study on that, where we went out and canvassed lots of dentists and hygienists. We do presentations to dental groups because dentists have invested in our company, and the feedback that we're getting, they go, I want to beta test this, I want to be a customer, I want to be an investor. So we're getting some really, really good feedback from all of that. And there's the need. I mean, if you look at gum disease in itself, I mean, it's a medical problem. 60% of kids have some form of gingivitis or early periodontitis. 70% of adults have it. So it's not being addressed the way it should be. We're just using this little metal pick to go in the teeth and say, okay, it's 2 or 3 millimeters, so what? Well, if it's 38 degrees and I'm measuring that, I'm going to stop it now before it becomes deeper.
Thanks for the presentation. My question for you circles around where you think the real value in the product lies. A typical hesitation with hardware is that over time it becomes commoditized, margins begin to go down as more and more people start to enter this space with a similar product. So I guess my question is, do you find more value in the software and that you're going to build to actually house a 3D imaging? And if so, or if not, what other sources are dentists currently using? How is this going to disrupt their current practice or flow?
Well, we're not disrupting their practice, right? When we decided to produce the software and then the probe, 28 years as a dentist, I went, what's the process? I don't want to change that. Either they talk to the computer or they talk to an assistant who's writing everything down. On the probing, it's the same thing. You use the same probing techniques for the hygienist. So that's valuable to them. There's no learning curve or very little. They automatically plug and play and use it. Unlike other probes, like the Florida probe is a long learning curve on it. There's a foot pedal. There's a few other problems with it. Now, you said, how do we keep our value up? Well, as we're starting with temperature on the probes, eventually we're going to add oxygen for anaerobic bacteria. We're going to add pH for gram negatives. We're going to add sulfides for people who treat bad breath. So we have kind of a blue ocean strategy in keeping ahead of the competition as we go along. Okay.
I'm afraid I'm confused.
Yes.
You have software that you're selling today for which there's no competitors.
No, there are many two-dimensional softwares out there available, and they usually come with the dental office management systems, right? So if you use AbleSoft or Dentrix, there's a software there. It does not improve anything. They still have to either click on it. There's very little voice activation on the whole thing. So the fact that we're going 3D, patients understand it better, integrated into the cloud, all of those things makes it quite unique. We don't see the software being the main driver of our revenues. It's going to be part of it, definitely. And in our projections, we even show some dentists may just adopt our software, and that's fine, and they can manually read in the periodontal measurements. But the real driver of our software is going to be the probe.
Which isn't ready yet.
No, that's not ready yet.
Okay.
But the software is a standalone. This was one of the fundings we got from OCE. Can you launch this before your probe is ready?
So when you showed us that image of the mouth,
yes,
those teeth are, if it was my records, those are my teeth or those are model teeth?
it's a model teeth to represent your mouth. A chart is just that, right? It's a representation of your mouth.
So it's not tied into the X-ray system?
No, not at all. No, we're not an imaging system, which is different, like X-rays, scanners, intraoral cameras, or whatever. We are the actual legal document known as a dental chart. That's the space we're going into. And the teeth that you saw there, that's the version 2 of our, that's what we're going to launch. And we've developed all of those teeth on our own with 3D animation people, and it looks pretty cool.
So if you had situations with your patient around the wisdom teeth, for example,
yes,
you wouldn't really be able to pick that up.
If they had problems with their wisdom teeth, our probe could. If you place the probe underneath the gum at the back, you'll probably measure high temperatures, and down the road you'll measure pH changes, so we'll know that there is a problem occurring with them. And even dental implants. Dental implants have a big problem in that after about 10 years, the bone structure starts to deteriorate around it, peri-implantitis. We'll be able to find that.
Okay, so I have one more question.
Yes.
When you deliver your probe, does that replace all the other tools on the tray in the dentist office?
It only replaces the periodontal probe. It won't replace the mirror or the pick for the fillings or anything like that. Just that. But
when the dentist is doing his inspection,
yes,
he only needs that one tool, or does he need other tools?
He uses other tools as well. Yes. The mirror, first of all, the explorer for the cavities and the light, and then when they're doing the periodontal exam, they use the probes as well. But we're just saying use our digital probe once a year. The other time you can use the standard, right? So we're not saying use it every time. And that's in our projections as well.
One more question, we have time?
Good. And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Our next pitch is from Vikram Somasundram, who is pitching his company, EduSite. You've got a lapel one as well? Yeah, excellent.
There we go. Cool. How's everyone doing? Okay, I'll just take that as a yes. Hi everyone, I'm Vikram, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of EduSite. Our vision is to help everyone in education make better decisions with data, to show the right person the right insight at the right time. That's really the key to personalizing education and transforming the system as it's existed for centuries. And today we make tools, simple tools, to help K-12 teachers capture and document student progress. So tools that help them capture grades, but also photos, audio, video, what's happening in the classroom, and evidence of learning. And that's the first step in our journey to helping people make better decisions in education. This is the typical life cycle of data anywhere. You capture data, you analyze it, you find insights, and you take action. And the results you get are then recaptured and reanalyzed, and so on. The problem for K-12 teachers today is that every step of this is broken. Here's why. Teachers today use tools like this. They're incredibly tough to use, and they're centered around an archaic metric, grades. Grades that can be subjective. And so as a parent or as a student, the conversation becomes about grades and not about what you've learned and how you can improve. In fact, because of tools like this, on average, teachers only document 2 interactions a day of what's happening in the classroom. So an average teacher in North America teaches more than 6 hours of class and teaches over 120 students. And they're only documenting 2 things that happen in their classrooms a day. And we changed that. So with EduSite, teachers get an incredibly easy to use, powerful, flexible gradebook, so they can do all their grading like they did. But we do more. Our gradebook's been called the best designed gradebook teachers can get, and that's because we make it really simple for them. And on top of this gradebook, we provide them with mobile apps. Mobile apps that let them document what's happening in the classroom. So as they're walking around, working with students, they can take photos, they can take audio and video. And so the discussion becomes about more than grades and becomes about the learning. We found that even simple analytics and simple visualizations were kind of revolutionary for teachers. For most teachers, they spend time documenting things on pencil and paper, and they use things like Excel. And we showed them a simple histogram, and the reaction we got was, I haven't seen anything like that. That's news to me. This is wonderful. And so even that kind of simple insight is valuable to them, and that's what we mean by showing the right person the right insight at the right time. And this is what we're really excited about. The data we're capturing allows us to give them insights they've never seen before. Within the next 6 months, we're going to be building things like watch lists. So teachers can identify specific students with specific things that they're going to have trouble with and watch how they perform and pay attention to them. We're going to be building automated alert systems. So when Jamie hasn't done her homework for the 3rd time this week, but is usually an A+ student, the teacher gets an alert that something's off and they can respond to that. And we're going to be building simple collaboration features to address that. The EdTech analytics market is worth more than $1.5 billion today, and it's growing. It's one of the top needs administrators, so superintendents, principals, cite as things they're looking for. But right now, this $1.5 billion is spent on tools for administrators. So it's things that are built for principals or superintendents, so they can look at years-old data and identify problems retroactively. They're not spent on tools for teachers in the classroom, where you can have the most impact immediately. And that's what we're building. And we're going after this market. Here's how we differentiate ourselves on 2 things. 1, how easy we are to use, and 2, how insightful what we do is for teachers in the classroom. So here's what teachers today do. Existing gradebooks are incredibly tough to use, and they don't really provide any insight. It's all one-way interaction, and I do it because I have to submit my report cards. Existing analytics tools are insightful, but like I talked about, they're insightful for principals, they're insightful for superintendents, and they're not easy to use for teachers. There are a few newer competitors, like FreshGrade, which are easier to use than the traditional gradebooks, but they don't provide as much insight. And out of frustration from all these tools, teachers often turn to consumer products, like Evernote. So they're taking notes on Evernote, but the problem is this is a siloed system. It doesn't feed into any other data. It's tough to collaborate on it. And so the information is really stuck there, and it becomes really tough to use. Here's where we want to be. We want to be the most insightful tool and the easiest to use tool for K-12 teachers. So we launched in September. And even before we launched, we had a ton of excitement. We were able to secure a pilot with the New York City Department of Education, which is the largest district in North America. We also have a pilot with a private school in Toronto. And we started with about 25 to 30 users in September. Today we have over 1,500, and we're growing at 15% each week. And these users have already documented over 120,000 grades and even more notes and photos so far. And that's just on our free side. We offer a premium version to schools and districts for $5 per student per year, and we've already booked $110,000 in contracts, and that's just been in about 2 to 3 months of selling. And we're seeing a lot of excitement. We have 3 pilots with school districts lined up, both in the US and in Canada, and we have 2 paid private schools already and an increasing number of schools in the pipeline. Here's why these administrators are excited about EduSite. Today, they spend anywhere between $7 to $9 on a whole swath of products. Analytics tools, portfolio tools, gradebooks, and we come in at $5 per student per year, and we replace a lot of this functionality. So it's a better product, it's cheaper. And the best part is all of it comes from existing budgets. It's a known solution to a known problem. As an administrator, I don't have to worry about finding new money for this. It's just a replacement to what I'm already spending money on. And it's a win for me. So that's why they're excited. This is our team. Garrus and I spent more than 2 years in management consulting, working together, working on large data problems for Fortune 500 companies, finding insights. And we're bringing that mindset to teachers in the classroom. Dev and Kimming have been programming together for more than 9 years, and they've built dozens of stunning apps that are highly usable with scalable infrastructure. But it's not just us. We just came back from the best education technology incubator in the world. Imagine K-12. That's the Y Combinator for EdTech. And they've invested $100,000 in us, and the network that gives us the access to the best EdTech companies in the world to learn from is incredible, and it's been an amazing experience for us. So we take that kind of effort seriously, and we're building an advisory board based on the network there. We're also working with GSV Labs. So GSV is one of the top tier VC firms in Silicon Valley, and we're one of their EdTech companies in their incubator space. And again, the network and the advice we get, it's run by Nancy Liu, who's a former director at the Department of Education, and so we're learning a lot and building our network there. Most important to us, though, is our teacher advisory board. So we work hands-on with 10 to 12 of our most active users. And we check in with them on a weekly basis, we test new features, we ask them for feedback, and we try to learn how we can make the best user experience for them, the best user experience for K-12 teachers in the world. We're also working with some amazing partners. Pearson and Education Elements are sales and distribution partners for us, and they help us with some of our sales and find some of our contracts. And later this year, we're excited to launch partnerships with Edmodo and Clever. So Edmodo and Clever are companies that have large user bases. Edmodo has over 50 million users today around the world. Clever is in 1 in 5 schools in the US, and for us, it's a channel to acquire free users. And we're super excited about launching these partnerships later this year because they're going to increase our distribution and make that really simple for us. So that's us. We're EduSite. This idea of personalizing education has existed for centuries, but the challenge, especially the challenge today in K-12 education, isn't about a lack of resources, and it's not about a lack of data. It's in how that data is captured, it's how it's analyzed, and how it's communicated. And that's the problem we're fixing. We're empowering students, teachers, and parents to really personalize education. Thank you.
Ozan?
So there are many different philosophies in teaching teaching students, and it's not just you can find variety of philosophies just in the GTA, let alone Canada, U.S., Europe, Asia, etc., etc. How is your sales cycle here? How do you sell into Toronto Board of Education? Is every school using it?
I see.
How are you going to penetrate this market? And how are you going to make money off of that market?
Yep. I guess we switched up our slides, but I had a slide for this. So we're basically following 3 channels for sales. So one is word of mouth and referrals. So we build, it's kind of the Yammer playbook idea of freemium model, right? So you build a free user base that's really active, and then you target pockets that are super active. So we have a pilot with the Simcoe district, and that came because we saw within a month 60 teachers sign up and start using. So we picked up the phone, we called them, and we talked to them, and they loved that fact. They brought us in, and their teaching and learning team got involved. So that's one strategy. The second strategy we use is conferences like this. So EdTech focused conferences where we set up meetings with administrators and teachers and principals ahead of time. And we go in with a deliberate mission to identify people we want to work with and have meetings with them. So we're pursuing pilots with a school in Chicago based on that, and with a New Jersey district. So one of the clients on there is directly from that. And the third is we work with education technology consultants. So people that identify needs for districts and identify companies that meet those needs, and they bring us in together. And we have discussions there and go from there. So that's kind of the 3 things we're doing. And so in broad strokes, it's the freemium strategy, but it's also like the land and expand where you go top down, but you find a champion at the top, and then you do a little pilot. So the 3 big districts we're doing are pilots with the promise that the next year will be full rollouts if things go well, right? So that's kind of the strategy we use.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vikram. Good presentation. I have to say, you did a good job.
Thank you.
The question I had was around your competition. I didn't hear you talk a lot about that, and to your point, this is a very hot space right now. There's lots of companies in it. I can think of a few even here in Toronto. So the question is, where are you relative to them, and what really distinguishes you in your company and what you're doing?
Yep. So two key things that we find in terms of competition. So first, this is something we build our product on very heavily, is the user experience. It's integral to what we are as a company. And it's the first thing teachers notice when they log in to use the product is, this is light years better than what I've seen and what I've used. And that's a consistent reaction we get across the chain. And so that's core to what we do, and we plan on building around that, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is the types of data we capture. So we do both quantitative and qualitative data in one place. And that's how we differentiate, because that's something that teachers want, and increasingly administrators are demanding, right? So we're able to capture different types of data within teachers' workflow in the same place, and it makes everything you do with that data a lot simpler. And that's the value proposition that others don't have.
Vikram, good presentation. Two quick questions. One is sort of piggybacking on yours in the sense of when you're competing against people, let's say like Freshway, what's the win rate like? Have you gone on head to head with them? And then the second question will just be, have you considered going direct? Right now you're selling to boards and sort of that top down, but what about the bottom up, where you're actually going to teachers itself and having it organically spread, increase your free user base, and then actually use that as a Trojan horse to sell up to the boards? Yeah,
so great questions. For the first question, we've gone up against FreshGrade and a whole bunch of others, and we beat them on one of our big clients. So that's the only time we've been competitive with them, and we've won. So that's 100% hit rate. For the second question, in terms of going bottom up, so right now, the challenge is teachers are very cash strapped, and so finding real value that they are willing to pay for, they already pay about $1,000 a year out of pocket for their own products. So finding something that they're really bought into is key, and where we think that's going to come and we're going to experiment with is around data and storage. Because when we do audio, video, photos, notes, that amount of storage adds up really quickly, and it's kind of like the Dropbox model, where once they're hooked in and they're storing data, they're much more likely to be sticky and pay for it. And so that's what we'll experiment with, and that's where we think teachers will find value, because they want to capture all this data and it just makes sense for them to pay for it.
Thanks.
Great presentation, thank you. So the boards pay because a lot of students or a lot of teachers are using it? Is that basically the strategy?
So what the boards pay for is three things right now. So it's three premium features. So first, it's integration of our data that feeds into all their existing systems, so the report card systems and any other reporting systems. Second, it's connected teacher accounts. So if you and I are teachers in the same school, we can see each other's data, we can collaborate. And so with individual accounts, you don't get that. And third, it's administrator level analytics. So similar to what a lot of the analytics companies are doing, but lighter. So as a principal, I can look into, okay, I know grade 9 math is a problem. I want to dig in, see how my teachers are doing, and they can query things.
Okay, so why $5 a month?
It's $5 per student per year. And
$5. Okay, why? Yeah. Why $5?
So competitive benchmarking, and that's kind of where we've arrived at as an initial price point, mostly for the public system. For private schools, there's more money to be had depending on customizations that we make and things like that. So we do that on a deal-by-deal basis.
So you've got a better product that you're selling at Walmart.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Because for us, this is a wedge product, right? Right now, what we're selling is the capture and the analysis piece. As we go into the insights, we're going to be, the $5 is basically for the product as it is now, not the long-term product.
Okay. I got it. Thank you. Sorry. Beg your pardon. You said when you launch your product?
No. When we add the real in-depth analytics pieces that we're talking about, that's when that'll be additional cost over the $5.
Thank you for the great presentation. I didn't see too much detail on the team side, but I wasn't, by looking at the pictures of the team, it just didn't seem like they, do they have the know-how, do they have the experience to actually service this field? Yeah,
so that's a great question. So for us, that's why we built our Education Teacher Advisory Board from the beginning, right? Because before we even started building a thing, we spent months talking to hundreds of teachers. right? And so we made sure that they were in the process from the beginning, and we really took time to understand the space, understand the competitors, and what was going on. So that's the first way we addressed that. The second way is, again, going back to our networks, right? We're building advisors who've been in the space. So imagine K-12, the companies that come out of there are world-beating companies that are the leaders in EdTech, and they are a phone call away for us. So we have that kind of mentorship in place that really helps us and think about the problems. So when we lack that experience, we make sure we find the right person to help with that. And the third thing I'll say is experience can be overrated. Our team is really strong and super focused on execution, and we're proving that we know how to get things done. And so that's kind of what we hang our hat on and what we pride ourselves on. Nothing else matters except results and execution to us, so we'll find a way to do it no matter what. And so that's why I think even though experience we can find ways to cope with the experience, but we focus on making sure we get the results done. So.
We have time for more questions.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Vikram. So before we move on to our fourth presenter, we're going to take a little bit of a breath. We're going to give our judges 2 minutes to get caught up on their notes, on their thoughts. And I'm going to ask, is Kevin here? I saw him. Oh, Kevin, come on over here. So Kevin Sterling is the president of the Toronto chapter of Keiretsu. Keiretsu's been a great partner in this competition. I'd like to give him a couple of minutes to maybe just speak a bit about Keiretsu, what they do here in Toronto, and what their mission is worldwide. Kevin.
Great. Thanks very much. Happy to be filler for the event. So, you really desperate for talent here today. But I just wanted to, for those of you that aren't familiar with Keiretsu, we're the world's largest angel investor network. We have 36 chapters now around the globe in 10 different countries, roughly 1,500 investors, angel investors, and we really look after all different types of industries. So, real estate, life sciences, tech, all kinds of tech, health tech, clean tech, fintech, every kind of tech. So, we really look to help investors, and really our mission here in Canada, in Ontario, is that of syndication. So that is twofold. Number one, we'd like to help work with Ontario companies and Ontario entrepreneurs and give them a channel to get to the rest of the world. So we can help use our network of 36 chapters, and a good example of that is we can take companies from here down to Silicon Valley, which we're going to be doing with one of the companies that wins today. We've taken a company over to the UK, we've taken one to Istanbul, Turkey. We've had companies pitch in our newest chapters in Chennai, India. So it's very exciting. So not only for capital, companies are looking for more than that today. They're looking for access to new markets. They're looking for new channels, new opportunities, and new connections. And with Keiretsu, we can help facilitate that through our great network. So that's what we do from a company perspective out. And for our investors, for our angels here, we like to give them exposure to other opportunities. So that's where we syndicate in to our chapters. So usually, and we support the Ontario space here, as you can see by our presence here, and our booth is just over against the wall. But we think it's important too that angels get an opportunity and investors get a chance to look at other opportunities that come from outside the country. So we bring in companies from Silicon Valley, all over the States actually is where our primary source. But we have brought in companies now from Israel. Last month we had our first company come in from Israel. So it's a great opportunity for investors to get a view for what is out there outside of the province as well, outside of Canada. So it's a twofold syndication, and that's really what our mission is at Keiretsu. I'd be happy to talk to anybody else about what we do and what we're up to. And as Randy likes to say, there's Randy Williams, our founder. Say hi, Randy. We like to work with companies from cradle to greatness. And one of those missions as well, we work with young organizations, the Smart Start companies, who I think are back here. We've got a few programs to help them get ready for the investment process. So we have our Keiretsu Academy now in Canada, and OCE helps supports us by approving a few of our programs to get companies ready to stand on the stage today and present to investors. And we fully realize that that next round of funding may not come from Keiretsu. It may come from another angel group. It may come from another government agency. But we give them the opportunity to get on the stage, tell their story, and hopefully shine it up a little bit so they have a better chance of success. And we're very proud of that relationship as well. So thanks very much, Martin, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Not too shabby with 5 minutes notice. You did good. Okay, our next pitch is Paul Hagendorn, who is pitching FreePoint Technologies. Come on up.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Okay, great. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today representing FreePoint. I'm one of the co-founders of FreePoint Technology, and what I'd like to do in the next 10 minutes is I'd like to challenge you to shift the way you think about work. What FreePoint does is we provide actionable, real-time, and relevant information for small and medium-sized manufacturers. Now, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'm hoping that a video is worth 100,000 words. There's a renewed confidence coming back to our manufacturing sector. A new vibrancy is emerging. It's more than continuous improvement and innovation. It's a spirit of innovation that builds on our industry's past successes. The industries that made all the good things we sometimes take for granted. Cars, planes, machines, appliances, the food we eat, but it makes more than things. Manufacturing is what made our middle class and made our society what it is. It's more than just the products it makes or the companies that make them. It's the people that work in manufacturing. And now, manufacturing is entering a new era. A time where the IT revolution meets the re-emergence of our industry, where knowledge is power and where power is shared, where machines are measured, but where people are engaged, empowered from the executive office to the plant floor, everyone on the same page. Knowledge is more than information. Knowledge is information and experience. Information may come from technology, but experience comes from people. By sharing more knowledge, more information, and more experience, in real time, everyone can be empowered. Everyone can be on the same page. Everyone can be engaged, aiming for the same goal. It's more than just about data. It has to be about actionable and relevant information. And it's more than just about information. It's about communication and empowerment.
FreePoint has a lot of advantages. One of the big advantages is that it can talk to all different control types, and it was really quick and easy to install. I'm looking for very simple information that everybody on the floor and on the management side can understand, and FreePoint gave me that.
FreePoint system has been a great asset for our tool. It offers great communication between operators and the management staff, knowing when the spindle is turning, and we can track our downtime or bottlenecks.
To FreePoint, actionable information is not what makes a difference next year or next month. It's any information that can make a difference now. It's about reconnecting meaning and value with work for everyone in the company. This is what we believe at FreePoint. Information is just a tool. It's not power or useful by itself. It has to be accurately measured, analyzed smartly, and most importantly, it has to be shared. The more you share it, the more valuable it becomes. Remember, measure, analyze, share. Don't forget to share. FreePoint Technologies, shifting the way we think about work, focusing on value, and valuing people. Want to know more about how to engage your workforce? Check out getfreepoint.com. So that's what we're about. We're about real-time actionable information. The challenge
Manufacturing has two challenges. Right now, manufacturing is booming. It has some swagger. There's a lot of enthusiasm, and I'm excited to be part of the manufacturing community as I have been for the last 30 years. The two biggest challenges are how do you connect your legacy machines cost effectively? And here's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is how do you engage your people? Now, if you're my age, 55 years old, engagement's not a big deal, but if you're 25 years old, engagement is a whole new ballgame. That's what FreePoint does with our technology. We connect legacy equipment and we engage with people. So this is our solution. It's basically following the previous presentation, measure, analyze, share. What you measure gets improved. You have to find the actionable information in the noise, that's our analytics, and then most importantly, you have to share it with your workers. We share it using commodity technology. Go to the local big box store if you need to, throw a few LCD screens on your plant floor, put tablets on your machines, leverage the cost-effective power of commodity technology. We bring three value propositions to the market. We have a basic package where we'll collect information for our customers. We have a standard package where we'll add analytics, reporting, display, and publishing utilities. And then we have an advanced package where we'll send alarms, alerts, and texts. Our value proposition to our customer is it's $20 a month or $40 a month or $60 a month per machine, depending on if you want the basic, the standard, or the advanced. What differentiates us and what makes this all possible is our product is very, very simple to deploy. It's a black box. It installs non-invasively on any machine. We've actually got this black box installed on a machine in Cambridge that was built in 1914, and we have it installed on brand new 5-axis CNC machines that came from Germany just last month. It's control agnostic. It can measure all value-adding work, not just your expensive CNC machines. It engages and empowers your workforce. And this is key. This is information for the workforce, not just management. And it derives out of the box value. I have one customer that was recording $12,000 of billable spindle time on average per month. A month after installing FreePoint is $15,000 per spindle per month. Low cost, we deploy for about $1,000, right out of $1,000 or less. We know our target customers. They're small and medium-sized manufacturers. They have legacy equipment. We know that there's 650,000 value-adding jobs in Canadian SMEs today. There's 6.5 million value-adding jobs in SMEs in America today. We know what our customer looks like. You know, I hate to be sexist, but this is the fact. The influencer in our customers, this is a slow adopting industry. He's 45 to 65 years old. He's male. He's got too much on his plate already. But for us, here's the key. The key is this influencer, this decision maker in the company is somebody that genuinely likes their people and they want to look after the long-term well-being of their people. This is how we started. This is a snapshot. This is a 10-second history just to prove to you that we know what we're doing and we know how to get things done. This was an idea that we acted upon in January of 2013. We filed a couple of provisional patents after we got our prototypes tested, developed a technology, went to market with it, created market awareness, launched a SaaS cloud platform, built revenue. The ultimate test of all is, will people pay you for this? And the answer we can say is, yes, they will. And now we're on a land and expand strategy where we're trying to stake out as much territory as fast as we can. This is how we're leveraging our advantage. There's other players in this industry, but they fall under the MES marketplace, which is a $4 billion a year traditional marketplace. We have to change people's minds. So how we change their minds is simple. We deploy first, engage second, sell third. This is our 5-year forecast. I'm from London, Ontario, so all I can tell you about this forecast is they're very conservative, just like everything else in London, Ontario is. And it's based on achieving these goals. It's based on getting 1,200 deployments in the year 2015, this year. We had 80 deployments up till April. We believe what we heard. we have to go in 3 months increments. The next 3 months, we're deploying 200 more units, and in the balance of the year, we'll be deploying 700 more units. This is how we've been funded. This is sit down at the kitchen table, write the check out funding. This is not in kind. This is funder driven. And this is what we're going to do with the funds. We're going to accelerate our land and expand strategy. This is FreePoint, shifting the manufacturing world by shifting the focus on work, reconnecting meaning with work. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yuri? Hello? Oh, there we go. These microphones are tricky. Thanks. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciated it. I'm going to say something just off the bat, a little bit of free advice. When you're doing a pitch like this, try to stay away from using too much jargon because you might go over some of the heads of some people. And try not to use video, or not as much, because if you have the judges in front of you, you have the audience in front of you, you want to use that time to engage them. You can always send me the video later and I'll watch it then. Now, for my question, is this a tech-only play, or is there consulting associated with this? What do the revenue streams look like? Or is it strictly I give you the machine and you buy it? Or is there kind of monthly revenue streams? How does it look like in terms of revenues down the road?
Well, great question. We did have revenue last year, about $100,000 in revenue. It was 3 ways: hardware sales, software SaaS, and also service sales. And what we have found is there is a real appetite for consulting services as well. So now we're looking at the Eves Landry Foundation and places like that where there's funding available, so our customers can actually tap into that funding and purchase consulting services from us.
Interesting.
But that's a bonus for us. It's something that just came to us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I imagine you're looking at process automation, and I imagine, technology will help, but they might still need some help. So that could be an upgrade model. The other thing is pretty aggressive hockey stick. How long have you been working on it until this point?
January 2013 is when we committed, when my co-founder and myself sat down, wrote out the first check. August of 2014 is when we got the cloud up, and we had about 80 machines, I guess, running at the time. And right now I think we have 70 million data points pushing to the cloud. And we've just hired a data scientist to start mining some of that, because we know there's more value right now than just what we're selling.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to present. Question for you on 2 questions. So first is just on competition. Didn't get a chance to delve into that. What does the competitive landscape look like?
Well, the traditional way is filled with people like SAP, Infor, Cisco, Allen Bradley, Rockwell. There's some intermediates that were launched in 2008 and 9, and they still have the old business models and the old approach where you have to upgrade your machine $7,000, $10,000. There's a couple new upstarts that are very similar to us, but we see this as a blue ocean. So the fact that 2 or 3 other companies are going in this direction for us is very affirming. As I said, the traditional marketplace is a $4 billion marketplace, so we're willing to share the new marketplace with a couple others.
So is your differentiation in this that you enable legacy machines to connect without them having to upgrade? Is that the major difference?
That's the first difference. That's what gets us in the door. What hooks them is the fact that their operators and their employees love it. Nobody else is aiming at satisfying the worker. Everybody else is aiming at providing information up for management. And to the worker, that's Big Brother, that's nanny cam. We're not nanny cam, we're not the work. It's the worker, when they see it, that is asking for more screens.
Got it. And sorry, last question here is sort of akin to what Yuri said. You show a massive increase in units in 2017.
Yes.
So what exactly is driving that massive? Because it's a big jump.
Well, I can honestly say it's going like wildfire. Like even today, I've been here today and I've been getting emails from Michigan. People that have been through one of our installations in Brantford just emailed me to say, when can you come down to Michigan? So it's one of those things there's an electricity. If you walk through one of our customers, there's an electricity in their company. If you're a value-added reseller selling tooling to that company, you want to sell our stuff too. So we're very confident. 4,300 units in 2016 is still a modest number, and I believe that past that we're looking for double digits in 2017.
Thank you.
So I just have two questions. First, would you geek out for us a little bit and just explain how you're connecting legacy machines to computers, if you can?
Without giving away the secret sauce, we have 2 application patents filed and 3 provisionals filed, and what you're asking me is covered by our provisional applications. I can tell you it's non-invasive, non-intrusive, doesn't require the machine to be modified in any way, but that is our secret sauce.
Okay.
A couple of my questions were already answered. Thank you. But I just, like what you said, the video was just so long. It took me like up until I was looking at the timer. I think the 5th minute, I kind of got what you actually did. And so maybe like a little less of a video. Maybe a demo would have actually helped by like just describing the product yourself and going over like a 1 or 2 minute demo would have been really useful for me at least. But thank you.
Thank you for that. To just add on that point, I can say I agree with you, but if you left it to me with words, it would be 45 minutes and I'd still leave you in a fog.
I have one more question, if I could. You've said a number of times that you are empowering the worker. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, so could you please explain to me what empowering the worker actually means?
Okay, right now in a plant floor, and this has been going on for 100 years, there's those that do and those that measure. One of our early customers did a survey of their 30-year tenured staff and asked them a question on a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied are you at the end of the day that you know you've done a good job? And 80% of their 30-year tenured employees said 1. So what FreePoint does is we let people measure themselves. We bring, I'll say, transparent visual management tools to the plant floor that lets people measure themselves, and they know how they've done. And in every case so far, just like the slogan, what gets measured gets done, when you let people measure themselves according to the goals you want to achieve, they achieve them. So by giving them that information, by letting them know how they're measured, and by actually letting them actually affect their score, that empowers them.
So like parts per hour or tolerances, or give me something here.
Good question. Value-added work can be measured primarily in 2 ways. It can be measured in parts per hour, or it can be measured in percentage of time up, like a spindle. What percentage of the hour is the spindle running? Our customers will tell us it comes down to this. When that spindle is not spinning, or when it's not making chips, I'm not making money. So that's value-added work. What we do is we find out what are the value-adding work and what's the easiest way to measure that in your shop floor, whether it's cutting, welding, grinding, and then we measure that, either parts per hour or minutes per hour, depending on the type of work.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question. Does this make you a consulting company? And if so, are you looking for angel? And is that the right, like, where are you looking for money?
I'm sorry, does it make a consulting
I guess,
company?
yeah. Does this make you a consulting firm?
Well, you know, it's an interesting thing. We never tried to be a consulting firm, and we have had a lot of interest even today with consulting firms that want to get on this bandwagon. And as long as I get our $40 per machine per month, we'll empower as many consultants as...
You don't care who you are.
We don't care.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And our last pitch of the day will be from Raymond Shee, who's pitching QOC Health. Where is Raymond? There he is. the mic, the podium. Good luck.
So, thanks everybody. At a very high level, healthcare is too expensive. In fact, in North America, we spend amongst the most per capita on healthcare in the world. Yet amongst OECD countries, we rank dead last in terms of actual returns. And obviously, healthcare is quite complex, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. But two primary drivers are that, healthcare in Canada and the U.S. is too centralized around bricks and mortar institutions, and there's a lack of connectivity, not only between patients and healthcare providers, but also between patients and caregivers like family and friends, and also between the healthcare providers themselves. And this lack of connectivity and over-centralization can lead to many inefficiencies, and amongst the ones that are top of mind for most policymakers are emergency readmissions, which is a huge barrier and a huge cost to the system. In fact, readmissions alone cost North America about $20 billion a year. Unnecessary appointments, so wasted time both for patients and healthcare providers, and gaps in care. So when patients move through the health system, do they drop off and not get the care or adhere to the care that they actually need to get? And so at QOC Health, we can help solve a lot of these inefficiencies using one of these, which everyone has in their pocket. For example, we've deployed an application with Women's College Hospital where patients after surgery can go home, enter their own information, take photos of their wound site, and as a result, surgeons can actually monitor their recovery. If their recovery is going well, they can forego unnecessary follow-up visits, saving time and money. And if recovery is going poorly, the surgeons can then intervene proactively, preventing those readmissions, again, both at a massive cost and inconvenience for patients. We can also help manage chronic conditions. This app in the middle is the app we did for PATH, connecting 13 healthcare providers with a unified interface, allowing seniors with multiple conditions to then upload information and pull information in and out of their health records. Finally, around care coordination. So how do we address those gaps in care? We can allow patients and doctors to work together with an app we deployed for them, and then track and monitor progress towards those goals. And so while those look like very different applications, and again, the target populations are quite different, they all use one standardized product, which is our Cloud Connect platform at the bottom there. And you can think of it as a set of technology Lego blocks that represent all the pieces of functionality that a healthcare provider needs when engaging with their patients at home. So things like multi-directional communication, secure messaging, photo stream technology, profile management, privacy and security, interoperability with medical record systems, interoperability with Fitbit and other devices, et cetera, et cetera. And using these Lego blocks, which have been fully built out, we can quickly snap together custom-fit solutions for healthcare providers, but at a fraction of the cost of a custom development, and with the flexibility that isn't available through standalone app. So the apps that we've deployed so far use this platform. Future apps that we develop will also use this platform. We can actually open up this platform as a software development kit for other mobile health companies or other healthcare providers to deploy their own niche applications. So here's an example that just brings the impact that we can have to life. So Marilyn Todd is one of the patients that we have using our PATH app, and she manages healthcare for her husband who has multiple comorbidities, including a recent stroke. So in the year 2013, we had 18 doctor visits and 7 hospital visits or readmissions. Since becoming involved in the PATH project, which they did in 2014, they've had 8 scheduled visits and 0 readmissions. And as a result, her and her family feel empowered. So just to provide a quick overview, we accelerate innovation and patient engagement through mobile and web tools. We have a number of large institutional clients, both in Canada and in the UK. We have a strong sales pipeline and growing. We have demonstrated peer-reviewed results, not only demonstrating improvements in patient outcomes and patient experience, but more importantly for the buyers, we've actually demonstrated reductions in cost. And finally, the technology platform itself has been validated through a series of independent reviews and audits. If you at the OCE conference, you've probably seen some other mobile health companies, and just want to point out how we differentiate ourselves with some of them. Again, we focus on developing a true platform versus standalone apps, so not just an API, but a true multi-tenanted platform. Secondly, we can interoperate seamlessly with all major medical record vendors through our unique partnership with McKesson. And McKesson is actually the single largest medical vendor in the world, so that gives us instant scalability. We have a unique patient co-design process, which we use to develop our tools, which is pioneered by the King's Fund out in the UK, and as a result, the tools we design and deploy are much more likely to be used correctly and regularly by patients. And finally, we have strong in-house research and analytics capability. This helps our clients get funding sustainability for the tools that we develop for them, but as well, it'll help us monetize the big data that we collect through our platform through multiple deployments. So again, this platform really allows us to have the scalability of a single purpose app, but with the flexibility of an outsourced developer. So just to give you an example, an outsourced developer, if you were to build an app from scratch, may cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and 8 to 12 months of development time. Using our platform, we could develop that same app in 2 to 8 weeks at a fraction of the cost, and with much better uptake on the back end. Our clients today are healthcare providers, both public, private, and government, and we charge on a platform as a service model. So we charge them a small portion up front to configure the platform for their specific organization, and then beyond that, we license that tool back to them per user. So that includes patients and healthcare providers. The mobile health segment is quite large and growing, but we're focused on a few key subsegments within that, including post-surgical monitoring, which is how the company got founded, wound care, transitions in care, and that again means managing patients as they move through different touch points in the health system, and opening up our platform as a development platform for third-party developers. We generate sales leads through thought leadership strategy versus to keep things lean rather than doing a lot of direct advertising. We have a fantastic management team, which is comprised 50% of health professionals and 50% technology. So our CEO, Chancellor Crawford, and that again, that's his name, not a self-proclaimed title. His parents had big dreams, I guess. His last company called Thin Data, he built from 2 people in his living room up to 160 people when it was eventually acquired, and that was a platform as a service marketing company. So he's been there and done that from a technology and entrepreneurship perspective. Another key co-founder is Dr. John Semple, who's also Chief of Surgery at Women's College Hospital. So lends us that network, that deep healthcare expertise, and that credibility when we go to market. My background personally was in global health, and we used to fund a lot of mobile health companies and projects. And when I heard about the platform and how this can solve some of the scalability issues that we were facing with our grantees and our investees, it was a no-brainer for me to put my money where my mouth was and invest in this company as well. So an important thing beyond the breadth of expertise of the management team is just to note that all of us have actually put in money, so not just time and sweat equity, but real dollars into the business as well. Not going to go into the finances too much because I'm sure you're all experts in that, but just to point out that we do have real and growing revenues. Another thing to point out is that loss that we're projecting in 2015 would only be conditional on raising a seed round, so it would just allow us to proactively hire a little bit. And those numbers retroactively are going to look a lot better once we file for Shred and digital media, which we're planning to do next week. There's a lot of potential acquisition targets for a company like ours. The first one, again, is electronic medical record vendors such as McKesson. Really, they're focusing on battling on the in-hospital systems. That's where they're focused right now, but increasingly their clients are going to start asking for mobile capability, which allows them to port that information in and out. Telcos such as TELUS Health in Canada have been very aggressive in acquiring health assets, and AT&T in the US. And again, we would provide a unique value proposition for them in how to drive user growth. Private healthcare providers, these would be larger private healthcare provider networks in the US, such as Kaiser Permanente and Cleveland Clinic, and pharmaceuticals, because we can actually deploy apps that can help their patients manage their medication compliance and as well do phase 4 clinical trials. So what we're looking to raise is $700,000 to close out our $1 million seed round. We've already applied for FedDev, so that's under processing, and we expect to hear about that in the summer. And with those proceeds, we're looking to secure a few more longer-term contracts, continuing to build out our pipeline of pilot projects. And again, these are paid pilots. We don't do any free work anymore. And primarily focused on the UK and the US to drive up valuation and to gear up with some IP protection as we look to a potential Series A in the future. So just in summary, we accelerate patient engagement through the use of mobile and web tools. We have a fully built technology platform, lots of large institutional clients, and strong technical validation. So thanks a lot for your time, and hoping to take some questions.
Thanks, Raymond. Appreciate it. I have two questions. First is just on sales. So, on average, what's the average contract value that you guys are closing on a client basis?
Yeah, so the way we typically break into these clients is what we call pilot projects, but it's paid smaller engagements. So these might be 12 to 24 months, and typically the contract value for that would be about 20,000 upfront and about 50 to 100,000 recurring.
And have you been around long enough to see results on renewal rates?
Yeah, so our initial pilot, the one where we needed to get data, that wrapped up in 2012. So our first clients came at the end of 2012 and 2013. So those pilots are just wrapping up now. Several of them have renewed with extensions on their pilots or growth in terms of their user base as well. So we haven't had any drop off of clients so far.
Okay. And sorry, last question is just on the competitive landscape. So you had a slide which sort of briefly put things in the buckets, but I mean, do you have a little bit more detail on the types of competitors you guys are going up against and who else is in the market?
Yeah, so I guess the reason why I simplified that into 2x2 matrix is because our platform is so flexible and can tackle a variety of different health focus areas and disease groups, different patient populations. Within each one of those verticals, there's lots of standalone apps. So if you look in the post-surgical space, there's a lot of companies doing specifically post-surgery and nothing else. In the chronic senior population, there might be 10, 20 companies doing that as well. So what we're primarily competing against is standalone apps in the market or in-house development projects, primarily through research. So Canada is known internationally. There's a lot of great things about Canada, but one negative about it is this tendency to just run pilots and they kind of die. And a lot of that is because of the way these applications are developed. They're developed through research projects, and then there's no real funding sustainability on the back end. So those we could actually move over onto our platform, and that commercialization path is built right in as well. So those are the two main buckets of groups, but if you want a competitive scan of all the different companies, we can talk offline. We have a spreadsheet of all those tracked out.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, and good presentation. You didn't talk very much about sales strategy. You mentioned a partnership with McKesson. Is it mostly direct, or how are you getting these things? Question number one. Question number two, on your finance slide that you skipped over, is 14, it said budgeted or projected or something like that. Is that in the bag? Did you do $1 million last year? Or
we're closing the books for 2014 later this week, so it's within 5% of that.
Okay, thank you. So then back to the direct versus partnership. How are you going about that?
Yeah, so right now we're doing everything direct, and the only channel partner that we have selling our solution right now is McKesson. So we actually have a couple different agreements with McKesson. First is around a technical integration with their Relay Health group. So that's what gives us the ability to interoperate with all the EMR platforms. And as well, we're authorized to resell Relay Health, and Relay Health is authorized to resell us. So for example, if a hospital says, well, they go to McKesson and say, we want to use their Relay Health tool, but we also want a mobile component, then they would pitch us onto their offering as well. So they're the one channel partner we have, otherwise we're going direct.
I would think that companies who service the healthcare industry would go through a lot of regulatory requirements, and what kind of regulatory challenges do you face?
Yeah.
Also, does it differ from? I would think that it would differ from country to country. So if you're targeting, Europe, Spain, what kind of regulatory challenges do you face there?
Yeah, so there's two buckets of regulatory. The first one is around the one that you probably hear a lot around here, which is the medical device side, so FDA approval, Health Canada. We've been following up with them. Because we're not qualified as an emergency response application, we're using passive monitoring. We don't need approval from FDA or Health Canada to operate and to sell, and that's why we've been able to get out the gate so quickly. The other bucket is around where the information goes, so privacy and security. Privacy being the consent and where you're consenting for your information to go, and security is around the actual firewalls and all the encryption. And so in Canada, the regulatory framework that we have to fit within is called PHIPAA, and in the US it's called HIPAA. So we've got a PHIPAA compliant data center set up in Canada and a HIPAA compliant center set up in the US, and as we expand to other countries, we're going to have a data center in each. But we've had that already audited in Canada, so we're compliant by those standards.
Thank you.
Great presentation, by the
Thanks.
way. Two very quick questions. Maybe not on the technology, but on the type of information that you provide. Are there any liability issues because you do transfer it from the healthcare worker, etc.? And then the other one is, could you expand on the use of funds a little bit?
Yeah, so around the first question in terms of liability, I mean, there's always there's always potential liabilities because our technology's been audited from a privacy and security perspective. The risk of that happening is quite minimal. Even when you log into all of our apps, the first screen says, you know, this is not an emergency response application. If you have an emergency, you need to call 911. And so that reduces a lot of the liability from the hospital's perspective and from the healthcare provider's perspective. I mean, if people want to be overly litigious, I mean, you can sue people for anything, right? On the second question around use of funds.
Just expand on the use of funds.
Yeah, so the technology platform, again, has been fully built out and validated. This is primarily to just get boots on the ground. We've been a featured company at a couple events in the US now, an eHealth Summit recently and an Impact Investing Forum in New York. And just having met there's a lot of initial interest, but we're coming to the realization that in order to really sell this, like we can stoke the interest and get people excited, but they want to buy from someone where there's a local presence. So really that whole round is just about getting boots on the ground in the UK and the US, just having the sales force. But all the technology is going to be managed, developed, and deployed right here in Ontario.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Damn microphones. Just a couple of questions on your revenues. Again, high level you provided us, but I'm wondering, like, where right now in your projections and in your past, where's the revenue coming from? And those projections, number of patients, number of hospitals, like, what are you basing your assumptions on to get to that, I guess? And so I get an understanding of how realistic that is. And then the second question is, how do your revenue streams change over time? You said you're a platform.
Yep.
So obviously you're looking at a different long-term game than a short-term game. So I want to get a bit more understanding of what that is.
Okay, so there's a lot of pieces in that question, so I'll try to go through them systematically. In terms of where the revenue comes from right now, our initial clients, so the 7 clients we work with, actually represent a pretty good slice of the health ecosystem. So we have some hospitals. Right now, we've been getting more traction with hospitals because that's where our network is. They're a little bit smaller to operate, so it's a little bit quicker to get in. So we've primarily gotten traction there, but we also have sold into private healthcare providers and into the government, such as NHS in the UK. So as we gain more use cases, we're hoping to drive the traction to more agency level, larger hospital network, larger healthcare providers. So the initial split is more focused on hospitals, but we expect that to shift. Likewise, at the beginning, when we do the pilot phase, there's a larger component of that upfront configuration. So right now, I would say, our one-time revenue versus recurring is about 50-50. But as we get longer-term projects and more projects under our belt, we expect that to move more to 20-80, and that's where we're hoping to go with that. The other part of your question was around...
Well, you're a platform, so, I mean, how much revenues, I guess, are you planning on?
Yes. So the way we charge is per user, per interaction. So it's going to be a little bit different depending on the type of condition. So in a post-surgical scenario, typically they're going to be really engaged, entering information every day, but for a very short period of time, usually 30 days in Canada. And so in that case, we would charge per patient per day. That'd be somewhere between $1 and $7 depending on value, depending on the volume. In something like a chronic condition, they're not going to be entering in the amount of pain they feel every day. They might do it once every couple weeks or once a month. In that case, we would charge them on a per patient per month basis. And so if you think about, just to give you a ballpark figure, to do like a post-surgical monitoring app for about 1,000 patients, which is a small to medium-sized hospital, but for their entire patient population, that would generate around $250,000 per year in recurring revenue. Okay. Thanks a lot.
So let's give one final round of applause for all of our participants today. A big thank you to our judges as well, obviously, for your great questions and your feedback. And a huge thank you to our sponsors, Dentons and Keiretsu, for supplying the tools and the amazing prizes for the competition today. So the results of this competition will be announced at the luncheon tomorrow at noon. which should take place in Hall F, as it did today. And we ask all the finalists to sit at their assigned tables at the front. And that way, if you're called up, you won't be running from the back like it's The Price is Right. So look for your assigned seats and enjoy the rest of your time at Discovery. The judges have a tough decision ahead of them, and we'll go deliberate now and have that discussion. So enjoy the rest of your day.